Welcome to another episode of the Business Spotlight. I'm joined today by Scot Salisbury. He is the owner of Expert Automotive Equipment. Scot, number one, thank you for taking the time to be on this episode of the Business Spotlight. And we know that time is precious, so we do appreciate that. And let me just tell you a little bit about the Business Spotlight. This is Action Coach's 30th year in business. So this is our way to give back to, the local community and, highlight successful business owners like yourself. So Scot, without further ado, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
Well, I've been in the automotive industry since I was probably about 10 years old, working on my dad's race cars. The day I got out of high school, I became a mechanic at a dealership and worked in the dealership and aftermarket as a technician until I owned my own automotive repair shop.
Mm-hmm.
And when I owned my automotive repair shop back in 1983, I had to buy a lift. And it took 2 weeks for the guy to come out and see me. I thought to myself then that I was in the wrong business. So in 1985, I got into the equipment business, working for a major manufacturer as their service and installation representative. Branched out to work with a bunch of different other companies installing lifts and brake lays and balancers and tire changers. And I've been in the industry in one form or another since then.
Yeah. So, that and that's a long time to be in business. So, tell us a little bit about, what inspired you to start the business?
Well, I realized that there was a lack of people in this industry providing the services that we do. And I went through a lot of different stages of being a manufacturer's representative for sales and for service, and started my own company up about 92. Then I went to work for another company running a branch office out here doing this. And after working for him for 10 years doing this, I decided it's time for me to go on my own. He was out of state and it really wasn't working out very well. And in retrospect, I could see he was trying to take his business to an online model. We're all about personal service. Make a phone call, we come out, we see you. We have trucks that are equipped, people that are trained. And in the normal course of business, it's not magic. However, there's a real lack of people in this industry of what we're doing because we're kind of an invisible business.
Right.
I've seen 22 businesses over the life of keeping count that have actually failed just because of the amount of infrastructure it takes. For a very long time, it was me and my son. He was starting, I was 13, and maybe one or two other guys out there popping the lifts out. We would install and service just about anything that would go into an automotive repair facility. Learned a lot, went to the schools, got to the point when we started the business, my wife says, you're an expert at this. And so we ended up calling it Expert Automotive Equipment because I'd already had well over 20 years in the industry doing this already. And it has grown from, we started in 2004 as Expert Automotive Equipment. We today have over 20 employees. We're in 2 states. We're in Las Vegas and we're also in Phoenix.
Wow.
And we've developed several different aspects of the business. Probably the biggest exciting thing that we've done is we've opened an addition called Residential Parking Solutions. What we did, we have these lifts that were actually designed to be at your house. And so we were taking them to the car shows to show them off to the guys who had the hot rods, because this would be a perfect addition to their garage to help them take it with their cars. What happened was the people who were coming to look at the cars would come to us and ask if that would fit in their garage and how much it was. So it's developed into a substantial enough business that we're actually starting to franchise that this year. We're in the process of going through the franchise to make that a total separate entity, because most of the people who are in my industry don't apply themselves towards the residential market because it isn't near as lucrative as commercial business.
Right.
We had to make some adjustments and changes because it's different to sell to a business than it is to a person. And so we made the changes. We've been doing it for 7 years and kind of got it all dialed in. We do specific advertising, car shows, home shows, things of that nature. Really is developing into something that was totally unexpected. Just serendipity, opportunity, meeting hard work kind of a thing. And expert automotive equipment, though, is the main thrust of the business. It's the major generator of it. We have seven service trucks here, one truck down in Phoenix right now, 2 install trucks, multiple trailers, forklifts, scissor lifts. We do everything. We turnkey shops. So it's been quite a challenge. I will say this, it is not easy. I can't tell you for how many years I came home dragging at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, putting lifts in. You're not ever guaranteed that you're going to be successful, but I guarantee if you don't give it 110%, you're not going to make it. And to get to this point, I was reading something the other day where it says most people aren't willing to pay the price for what it takes to get to this. For me to get to this point where I'm at right now, very high price. Physically, mentally, emotionally, it's not easy, but you just keep on going and get through the hard times. I mean, it's just, and the crazy thing is there's no guarantee. But if you don't do this, I can guarantee you won't make it. For those who really don't decide they want to try something out and they don't give it 100%, you're not going to make it.
Yeah. And I think that's really, really valuable information, right? Is knowing that, hey, look, number one, there was a lot of really great information that you gave. You found something that was lacking in that industry and you said, hey, I'm really good at this. I want to make a difference. I want that customer experience to have that white glove service, right? And then, it's family owned, right? It's you, your son. And then on top of that is, hey, you have to give it 110%. And it's something that you have to have that fire. Like you talked about, right? There's so many different levels of business, but you got to know how to just keep going. The entrepreneurship journey can be lonely. It does not have to be, right?
No. Well, you can't do this by yourself. This business, and now, and probably for the last 10 years, I've just been a part of it. So bringing the right people in and taking care of them, paying them right.
Yep.
Most expensive thing in the world is a cheap employee. You have to pay them more, you have to treat them better, you have to create an environment that makes these people want to feel safe and thrive and do the best that they can do. One of the hardest things I had to go through was letting them make the mistakes to learn so that they wouldn't make those mistakes in the future. You have to kind of overwatch this so they don't make a mistake that's going to cost you the business.
Correct.
They are going to make mistakes, and you've got to be able to let them make those small mistakes, learn from that, and move on, and keep on growing. And knowing that my business philosophy with all my people is you're going to make a mistake. It's okay. We'll take care of it from there.
Yep.
What gets in trouble is subterfuge, trying to hide this and keep it from everybody. That's the problem we have. So if they feel safe and they know they can come to you and say, listen, I screwed up. Everybody screws up.
Yep.
And with that free flow of information and being able to encourage them and say, okay, where do we go from here? What did you learn from this? And take these people to the next level. I have people in my organization, more than one, probably half dozen of them, that when I send them to the schools that we send them to, whether it be a lift school, welding school, or for manufacturers training standpoint, they'll call me every time. Who was that guy? They've never seen anybody like. They've never seen anybody come through because we give it 100%. We dive into it, we learn. The people that are with me care.
Mm.
In today's market, that's hard to find. But the only way, and I was listening to a guy on a podcast the other day, you do not expect these people to work as hard as I worked.
Mm.
Not their business, it's mine. But they're a part of it, and including them and encouraging them, but not expecting them to work at the level that you do as the owner. That trap will cost you a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really important, right? As an owner, you have to reward risk, right? The only way to get to that other level is by encouraging and empowering your employees to, hey, you're going to bring a different perspective, and having that team that they know, hey, as an owner, have that open communication, number one. Two, let's see what we can do to take that business through these risks, right? And knowing that, hey, it's not going to be detrimental to the corporation or the company, as long as you let me know, hey, here's what I tried, here's what happened, how do we figure this out? But they have to know, and that starts from the top, right? Like your vision, your mission, your purpose. If they know exactly what they're working for, they're going to want to champion for you harder. And having that up for them to see, and knowing that, hey, here's what separates us from everybody else. Here's how we're going to make a difference. They'll definitely work harder for you. Now,
I used to make the decisions on myself when I was smaller. Now I don't make the decisions without bringing in the top 4 or 5 people and sit down and talking to them. And I will tell you, half the time, it's different than what I thought.
Yeah. Look, Scott, part of the business spotlight is to inspire people who are thinking about getting into entrepreneurship, right? What do you feel has been your biggest learning curve since you started the business in your industry?
There's been a lot of them. One of the most surprising thing that when I went out there, because I used to own an automotive repair shop, was to find out how different every shop was running. Because some of these guys, they were all working on cars, and some guys couldn't rub 2 nickels together, and other guys were driving around on $300,000 motorhomes, and they're all doing the same thing. So I had to learn from them about what it took to be successful in this business.
Yeah.
You're a businessman first. That's numbers first. What we do is what we do. The reason why we're in this is to make money.
Correct.
And so you have to balance that with each other, because you can be the best service in the world and lose tons of money doing it by being the best guy out there. You can also be the most profitable out there and probably be the worst guy out there. So trying to find that balance of being able to give 110% and give everything and be better than anybody else out there at that. Still trying to remain profitable. That's a balancing act. I mean, if it was easy, everybody would do this. And
right.
It's not impossible, but if you are going to do this, you have to commit yourself to doing this and not expecting results in 6 months or a year or 2 years. Reading Simon Sinek, business is an infinite game.
Yep.
You don't win or lose. You just continue to conduct business and keep on going. So if you have a great year, that's great. That means nothing for the next year. And so never losing focus and keeping on moving forward and learning from where your mistakes are and capitalizing on the wins and learning what you did, which worked, and eliminating those things that don't work out of it is a process that you can only do yourself by going through it. Because nobody else can tell you. Nobody else can tell you what's going to work and what isn't. You can get a lot of good advice out there and clear some hurdles faster, avoid some obstacles out there from people who've maybe been in the business and giving you a lot of advice and that thing. But until you get out there and do it yourself, the only one's going to determine if you're going to make it is you.
Yep. And I mean, you gave some really, really good nuggets in there, right? Surrounding yourself with really good people, learning how to sift through some of that advice, and the books, right? We got to constantly be learning. I know the founder of Action Coach, Brad Sugars, he talks about where you'll be in 5 years depends on the books you read and the people you associate with and the actions you take, right? It's what good is that book if you just read it and don't apply any of those concepts, right? And then to go one step beyond that is, are you testing and measuring the things that are working or not working? If they're not working, why aren't they working? And how do we adjust? How do we pivot? Is it something that I did wrong? Let me go back and reread that. Oh, I misinterpreted it. So it's applying those things and testing and measuring that we challenge a lot of our clients to, right? Is, hey, what's the scoreboard, right? At the end of the day, what's the scoreboard look like? Are you keeping track? And if you're not, that's where we're going to start. We need to start keeping, and just like in sports, right? Business should be the same way. Is you got to track the analytics to what works, what doesn't work. And that was some of the stuff you talked about. So that's what's pushing you guys to get to that next level. And you talked about, hey, look, we're going to franchise. That's a whole nother ball game, and that there's a lot of learning to it. And I'm glad that you've gotten to that point of success. So that's amazing. Now,
we do have to do what I call reduce the ridiculous, where if you know your numbers, if you know what it costs you per hour to keep the doors open, just hard costs. Once you get down to that, then you got to figure out how much of $100 that comes in actually you get to keep to apply that towards that number. And that's going to give you an idea of what you have to do hourly, daily, weekly, monthly. And once you get down to all the small stuff and do all of the small stuff, the big things will come along. But you got to know these numbers.
Got to know the numbers. Couldn't have said it better myself, Scott. Look, as we're approaching the end of the business spotlight, what's the best way, Scott, for people to connect with you, get a hold of you if they're looking to, use you for their services, your services?
My email is Scot, SCOT, there's only one T in it, Salisbury, SALISBURY, at Expert Auto EQUIP.com. Our company email, that's my email. Cell phone 702-400-5993. I'm open to talk to people. I've reached a point where one of the things I did learn was you were successful when you were no longer needed in your business. They don't need me to be here to operate this business. This place does not fall apart when I walk out the door. When I am now useless to the daily operations of this business, I'm okay, but it takes a long time to get there. So,
and that's the goal, right? Is to have a commercial profitable enterprise that does work without you. And that's what most business owners are trying to get to. So
right. And it took until probably we started in 2004, and I probably didn't even get there until maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So it's not an overnight thing.
Yeah. Well, Scott, thank you for being on this episode of the Business Spotlight. I look forward to connecting with you out there, and wish you guys the most success with the franchising.
Thank you for listening to my story.